Alright, hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It's Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. Not quite a WrestleMania review, at least not just yet. So, of course, we're going to be, in a matter of days, reviewing the final match, not just for the WrestleMania matches we're looking at for the month of March bleeding into April, but also the last in the Rock Austin trilogy. But first, before we get into that match, before we review that match, I want to make a little pit stop because as feuding with Austin wasn't the only thing The Rock did in 2003. No, in fact, the pay-per-view before that, he settled another old score with another old rival, that being Hulk Hogan. So let's take a look at the rematch and see if it compares to the original from WrestleMania 18. Spoiler alert, it will not. But we're going to take a look at it anyway. Okay, so of course I'm talking about The Rock versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania at No Way Out 2003. So as always, I'm not a professional wrestling reviewer, analyst, or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time, and I would say I had a pretty decent time watching this match. Like I asked at the top of this review, how will it compare to their match at WrestleMania 18? Will it surpass their match at WrestleMania 18? We'll know. But we're gonna take a look anyway, because I'm curious, and we're gonna see how this connects to Rock versus Austin at WrestleMania 19. Kind of a spoiler. It kind of does. I don't know, but it does lead to another match. But we'll get to that in just a moment. So let's get right into it now. If you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of know how this works. But if you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about the match. So before we get there, before we get into the actual match, how exactly did we go about getting to this point in the timeline? So really, this kind of feud, this kind of like mini reignition of the feud between Rock and Hogan, and and admittedly is kind of Hogan versus McMahon in disguise. Is because Hogan challenged Vince McMahon. This is when Hogan, and if you remember back at WrestleMania 18, Hulk Hogan was still Hollywood Hogan. They were doing the NWO thing, but at this point, Hogan had ditched the NWO. The NWO, I think, as a faction, because it did run on even after Hogan was no longer there, and it was just kind of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall for a little bit. Why? Your guess is as good as mine, but even the NWO as a group, I think, was kind of dissolved by this point. But nevertheless, as Hogan, this is when he was doing his kind of mini comeback tour. He was doing the Hulk Still Rules kind of run, and so he challenged McMahon to a match for No Way Out, I believe. But Vince said, "Nope, we're doing that at WrestleMania. At No Way Out, though, you're going to have a rematch. You're going to have a rematch against The Rock here." So Hogan and The Rock are kind of feuding, and admittedly, this is the Hollywood Rock era. So Rock is ironic that Hogan's no longer Hollywood, but now The Rock is. So this was during the original Hollywood Rock era when he was doing movies, and they incorporated that to his character. This one he turned heel and became like the arrogant movie star and everything. And admittedly, a lot of The Rock's shenanigans during this time were including like this feud he had with Hogan and his feud he would have with the Hurricane later on this year. Admittedly, it was actually pretty funny. He especially like Hogan when he was cutting his promos. It was a pre-recorded promo from The Rock. Hogan was there live in attendance. Hogan was cutting his promo, and The Rock was like doing this and like pretending to fall asleep, and kind of mocking Hogan, everything, saying, fast forward to the part where you're like, let me tell you something, brother. Like, go back and check out some of The Rock's antics during this time. because they are pretty funny. It's kind of, which is why kind of the final boss character that we have for The Rock nowadays kind of borrows some elements from the. Is they haven't played up the Hollywood stuff nearly as much, but yeah, some of the elements you see from there kind of carry over into what we know as the final boss today. But that includes The Rock's cool theme song on the Hollywood Rock theme song with the "It's Conquered" and kind of the remix of his theme song. I think at this time, if I'm not mistaken, he still had the version 1 and it just had his catchphrases before, or they cut it from like the version 2. But the intro with like the helicopter and everything, and admittedly he was really cool. But nevertheless, we get to this match here, and now that we've gotten to this point, right, the match itself, starting with what I liked about the match, I think it was pretty decent, and some decent like kind of action between the two. The Rock shtick throughout this match, kind of mocking Hogan and everything, was kind of funny, and Rock really working around Hogan, and who by this point was definitely well past his prime. But I think having Hogan do what Hogan does best, and having The Rock do the majority of the legwork, I think worked relatively well. Including when The Rock put on Hogan's do-rag and started whipping Hogan with his own weight belt. Somewhere, as this is happening, I imagine somewhere a young Cody Rhodes just got unexplainable chills and doesn't quite know where it came from. But and crazy to think that, I'm making 2 jokes out of that. That's the first one. The second one is that I'm crazy to think that a decade plus later, and Rock is still doing whipping with the weight belts. But nevertheless, Rock doing that to Hogan and kind of mocking Hogan, including hitting the rare double people's elbow. He hits one and then he goes up for it again, then does like the Hogan pose before hitting it again, and admittedly that was pretty funny. Like The Rock keeping things entertaining throughout. How we still have like the Hulk up moments and stuff like that, and Hogan hitting the leg drop. But then as Hogan's going for the pin, then the lights cut out. No, it's not House of Black. Instead, it's nobody. At least at first. There was a chair that was brought in, and it's worth mentioning. And there was a chair that was brought in, and Rock introduced it to try to hit Hogan, but then Hogan hit Rock with the chair. The ref just let it go. And they kind of try to cover for it on commentary, saying, "Oh, the ref's being lenient." Sure, okay, but then the lights go out. Then they come back up. Seemingly nothing happened, and Vince comes out feigning ignorance, acting like he doesn't really know what happened. And then the referee slides the Rock the chair, and Rock hits Hogan with the chair, in order to put him away. The referee, and then Rock nailing the Rock bottom in order to pick up the win. So the referee in on it as well. Kind of the twist that the referee was working for Vince. Hence why your guess is as good as mine. And that referee actually, he turned out to be, they gave the referee a storyline. They gave him like an actual character years before they would do it with Brad Maddox. That referee actually was Sylvain Grenier, who would eventually be a part of La Resistance. He would be like the fashion consultant later on as well. Also, this was kind of Sylvain Granier's like at least introduction as like a proper character, but sliding the chair to The Rock, and The Rock picks up the win over Hogan again. Now, this part did kind of surprise me a little bit. I don't know why, but I thought Hogan got his win back from this match. They had the rematch here, and to my knowledge, this is the last match between the two. Unless I'm incorrect about that, but I remember Hogan winning this one, kind of specifically to get his win back from WrestleMania 18. It might be, it probably just, it's kind of Mandela effect taking place that, and I probably wouldn't put it past Hogan, if we're being honest, but nope, I hope so. The Rock gets another victory over Hogan here with the help of Sylvain Grenier, and Vince kind of sticks it to Hogan, and then it kind of takes off like his suit jacket and everything to reveal the Hulkamania sucks, or like Vince rules, something like that. I forget exactly what the shirt said, but yeah, that was the crux of the feud between Vince and Hogan, is that Vince created WrestleMania, and he's still salty with Hogan about jumping ship to WCW and testifying against him in the steroid trial, which not exactly how it happened, but and don't let reality get in the way of a good story, I guess. But yeah, so there is that hat. But I think kind of the storytelling and kind of the extra kind of twist of the referee, I think was it was unexpected. I guess the starting what I didn't quite like about the match as much is it did feel a little strange having that twist. But I guess you got to keep the match interesting somehow. The hat and this match, I want to say feels like an afterthought, but it kind of feels like The Rock is an afterthought in this match. He was kind of just the vehicle to continue the feud between McMahon and Hogan, which would lead into WrestleMania 19. But so The Rock definitely does kind of feel almost like, I don't want to say a full-on third wheel, but kind of bordering on that, and it's implied that like Rock and Vince are gonna start like some kind of alliance that doesn't necessarily happen, but as Rock then goes into facing Austin at WrestleMania, but obviously we'll get there when we get there. So it did feel a little strange in that regard. The other thing was that it simply can't quite measure up to their match WrestleMania 18, which kind of was a given, and you knew they probably weren't going to live up to what they were able to do at WrestleMania 18. Not always a bad thing. Sometimes just a case of the sequel not being as good as the original. So they kind of hate the beats. It's here. They kind of already like. I don't want to say. I guess you could say like they kind of already spent themselves in a way and kind of already played the beats at WrestleMania 18. So this one would kind of feel like a. I'm not necessarily want to say repetition. A lot of words I don't want to say. I don't necessarily want to say repetition, and because it didn't really feel repetitive, but it definitely didn't measure up. I think is probably the best way I can describe it. Still not a bad match though, I would say, but yeah, it doesn't quite measure up to what they were able to do at WrestleMania 19, and this really feels like this really does feel like a utility match. It kind of was, which is crazy because this was the main event of No Way Out 2003, which as I was about to do this video, I looked it up for reference and everything. This was the first No Way Out event, so a little trivia for you there. But yeah, this definitely felt like a utility match. We'll see how it ties into Rock Austin, but we already see kind of how it ties into Vince Hogan. But in that case, you probably could have put up anybody against Hogan. And now, Rock versus Hogan, and they made Magic before. I imagine they wanted to kind of cash in on that. Plus, The Rock is a big enough name to work with Hogan, and so it definitely makes sense in that regard. But yeah, while it's not as good as their match at WrestleMania 18, it's still, I would say, a pretty decent match. So I would say watch this one if you're curious. But that is going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on those post notifications so you know every time I upload a video so you never miss an upload. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the match, my review of the match. Do you like this match? Do you like my review of the match? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace.